I really like how crazy and scary that this rotation is. I think it's not as scary as it was last year where Severino and Manaea, let's be honest, coming into the year were two of the worst pitchers in baseball the prior season.
All right, our buddy Draftneck Marc is here. Marc Luino, who is co-host of Mets'd, part of the FT network, the FT fam. Draftneck Marc, great to see you, man. Appreciate the time. And I will just preface this. We'll go right into storylines because we're tight on time. I know Kratz is concerned. He's concerned here. I want to include this, Kratz. We'll do this within the storylines question. But the one thing I do want to bring up before we start, Marc, is we got a couple comments yesterday from Mets fans saying, what is it? You guys don't like the Mets? They're the only team you haven't covered. No, they're the last team we cover for storylines because we wanted to make sure that we got all the moves out of the way because this team was wheeling and dealing a little bit. So that's a compliment. So we're saving best for last. Let's run through the game plan here as we preview the New York Mets this season. The $765 million man. What's it going to look like in year one? Polar Bear is back with the Metropolitans, so the lineups should be really cranking. What about the pitching lab magic that really struck last year? Can it strike again? Obviously, Montas is hurt already. Manaea's back. Clay Holmes in the rotation. And then the bullpen, is it better? It was definitely a question mark last year. I felt like they didn't think they were going to be an NLCS team. So if they were, they probably would have loaded up a little bit more, but they got Minter, so we'll see if it looks better now. All right, let's start at the top here. Draftneck Marc, Juan Soto. It's real. I know it still feels weird, but it's real. What's this going to look like in the lineup?
Yeah, it's pretty insane that he's on this team. Like watching all the videos of him taking BP and interacting with the guys and just having Mets stuff on is still insane. I mean, you slot this guy right into the 2-hole, I think, in this lineup, and you instantly have two of the best top of the order guys right now with Lindor and Soto, and then you have some power behind them with Vientos, Alonso, whichever way you want to go there. Maybe even Nimmo moves up in the lineup. Just adding one of the best players in Major League Baseball to a lineup that was good enough last year. They want to be better, and that's the way you do it. You grab a guy like Juan Soto, who doesn't just help on the power department, but gets on base, is one of the just best offensive players in the entire league.
Yeah, you got the polar bear, big doggy. This guy, we've been talking about him for a lot, whether he's going to go back with the Mets, whether or not he will. Finally made a decision to come back there. Is this the right decision? Is Pete happy? Talk a little bit about the Mets and where they're moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Pete's not as 100% happy. I mean, you know that he wanted a big contract. He wanted to get those years. He wanted to get that money. And obviously that's not what ended up happening. But I'm sure that Pete at a base level is pretty excited. I mean, he's getting paid like close to $30 million this year to play first base for the Mets. I really don't think that he ever wanted to leave New York. Everything that I've heard, he loved the city, loved playing for the team, wanted to be a part of this team. It's just he wanted to get paid. Unfortunately, he's coming off of one of his weaker seasons, which was still really good. I think a lot of people forget that he was a great player still last year, but money-wise and maybe contract-wise, not happy. But I think in terms of fit and feel and just kind of whole attitude and atmosphere, I think Pete's super pumped to be able to hit behind two amazing players in Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor.
Big year from Pete. But the biggest year that the Mets are going to need is that pitching lab magic. Are they going to be able to redo what they did with Severino, how they helped Sean Manaea? Because Sean Manaea is going to have to replicate what he did. And they were hoping Frankie Montas was going to, but he's already starting the season late. And Clay Holmes hasn't really been that great of a starter. So is this really where the Mets are leaning on? And is it too big of a crutch to lean on with such a great lineup?
I think it's definitely going to be really scary at first, but this is kind of the chaos David Stearns experience. I mean, even look at the teams that he had in Milwaukee with the Brewers. It felt like every single year going into the season, you would say, we need more pitching. That Brewers team needs to go get a big arm. They need to go get a frontline starter. And that's kind of where the Mets lie. But a couple big things that are going to really help this team out is one, having Kodai Senga back and healthy for the entire year is so massive for this team. He was incredible for them in 2023 in his first season. And while he got to pitch towards the end of the year, that wasn't a fully healthy Kodai. That was a rushed Kodai. I think we're going to see big things from him. Manaea, just keep doing what he's been doing. The changes that Jeremy Hefner was able to make with him in terms of his repertoire and arm slot and release were incredible, and I really hope that that continues this upcoming season. I'm really excited about David Peterson. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. He had a hip injury. He got it fixed, had a surgery last year. And from then on out, he was one of the most consistent pitchers in the Mets rotation. Now, I don't think Peterson's going to be this ace Cy Young caliber guy in this rotation by any means. But as someone who goes out there every 5 days, gives you 5, 6, even sometimes 7 innings, the Mets won almost every start he was on the mound last year. And I know wins and losses kind of get lost in the shuffle now in Major League Baseball and how we talk about pitching. But a guy like David Peterson, every 5 days gives them a chance to win. I really like how crazy and scary that this rotation is. I think it's not as scary as it was last year where Severino and Manaea, let's be honest, coming into the year were two of the worst pitchers in baseball the prior season. So I think there's a little more stability, but it's definitely going to drive a lot of Mets fans insane when you see guys like Griffin Canning pitching and maybe he gets lit up for one game every once in a while.
Yeah, and that might happen. That's just part of baseball and part of being in the big leagues. Now, you talk about the pitching staff. We haven't talked about the bullpen here because nowadays the bullpen is one of the biggest pieces for championship teams to cruise along and dominate because once that pitcher goes away, next thing you know, you need your bullpen. You had A.J. Minter. He's just coming off hip surgery. Talk a little bit about the bullpen. Are they ready to make a championship run here?
Yeah, I think the bullpen is a lot of fun because you have a guy like Edwin Diaz at the end who's one of the best closers in baseball. Even coming off of a major injury last season, he was still really good despite some scuffles here and there. But you have a guy like Reed Garrett and Dedniel Nunez, who are two guys that on the Mets'd podcast we talk about a ton. They have a lot of really fun stuff. Dedniel Nunez, when he pitched last year, was a huge part, a huge stopper for this team and really gave us some big innings. And then you add in guys like Ryan Stanek, AJ Minter, Jose Budo, who was a really surprising bullpen change, I guess, in the previous year because he was supposed to be a starter, but moving him to the bullpen, he got some huge outs. I love what David Stearns does with the bullpen, and he even said it last year going into the year. Because our bullpen looks one way on opening day doesn't mean it will look that way by the end of the season. He is willing to tinker. He's willing to change guys. Jeremy Hefner, Eric Gagers are always working with these guys to try out new things to make them better. There's going to be, again, some chaos for sure with this Mets bullpen, just like it will be with the starting rotation. But I think the process and what they look for in their pitchers allows them to be a little bit more, crazy in their approach of guys that they go after.
Wait, let's finish with this. What did you give them for their offseason grade?
Oh, I gave the Mets an A. I mean, I'm a biased Mets fan, so of course I'm going to give them an A, but also at the same time, when you sign Juan Soto, when you sign the best player of the entire offseason, I think it starts and ends at A. It would have – I don't even think if they didn't get Pete that they wouldn't get an A. I still think that they would have been a better team than they were in the previous year, so definitely an A.
Agreed. Great call. Kratz, you okay? You okay? You want to let
Mets
fans know anything?
I'm good. I just want to know because I was attacked on Twitter by the Mets'd community, which clearly doesn't allow anybody else in because I tried to reply to some of them and they said you have to be invited. So I would love to be invited into the Mets community to conversate about your Mets team. And they said, hey, Giraffe Neck Mark is about to cook this fool. So if you have it, go ahead and cook me for calling the Mets team still a playoff team, but just the third place playoff team.
I mean, listen, I'm totally okay with you doubting them. They were doubted last year. I even doubted them last year. I didn't think they were necessarily going to be a playoff team. So I'm cool with people kind of sleeping on the team a little bit. We don't need a target on our back. The target's on the Dodgers' back. The target's on the Phillies and the Braves' back. Keep sleeping on the Mets. We'll take a look what it looks like at the end of the season. And when they're towards the top of the division, probably even in first place, then they can let the talking do for themselves. But, they made a good run last year. They got even better. I've got all the faith in this team, and especially with the decision-making at the top.
Also, Mets fans, it's okay to win a wild card. Are they a first-place team? Yeah.
Are they the first-place team in the East? Say it with your chest.
No, they're not the first-place team in the East right now. I do not think that they are. But I think right now that they have a possibility to become the first-place team in the East. But I think on paper they are not the best team right now in the East by any means.
Or the best team in the East in the playoffs, which is different.
I think they could be a third-place team. I think they're a second-place team, honestly. That's where I would put them right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
I love that.
The Braves and the Phillies are good. So it's not like Kratz was saying, two crappy teams are both going to come out of the woodwork and be really good. Like these are two good teams. So it's
Yeah,
healthy
people
debate.
get twisted.
Yeah, I'm like Mets fans.
I
There's
love
a
it.
chance you win 90 games, finish in third, and win a World Series, or upset the Dodgers in the NLCS, whatever. Like that is a universe that you should also be okay with. So I'm just throwing that out there because I got plenty of love for this team too. But hey, Mark, good to see you, dude. Great run through the storylines, and make sure you check out obviously what Mark brings to the table. As yes, I can't win doing a show in Brooklyn. Yes, Kratz, you take us to the promo.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Mets'd Up. Everybody, click on the link. Hit a subscribe button, right?
Yes, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it. Let's go, Mets.
Appreciate you. It's a Mets'd Up podcast there. What a great year to come on board to Foul Territory with the Mets'd Up. All the breaking news. They're always on doing it right.
Hey everybody, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.